All right, so we are going to be discussing inequalities. Inequality flows right in with equations because essentially you are doing the exact same thing, except for the only difference is instead of an equal sign, you see a greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than or equal to sign. Everything else is exactly the same. And we're going to just jump right into it with having variables on both sides, which makes both sides a two-step equation, essentially. So think about it that way. So the steps to solve an inequality with variables on both sides. You're going to distribute and combine. Sorry, distribute and or combine like terms if necessary. If you don't have like terms, you don't have to do that. Sorry. That's all right. He tried to be nice. Just appreciate the niceness. All right. Then step number 2, you're going to collect the variables on one side of the inequality side. Then you're going to collect the constants on the other side. What that means is, just like in an equation, so let's say we have -4 plus 3x equals 7x minus 5. What this is saying is you're going to move all the constants to one side and all the variables to the other side. Okay, so let's do that real quick. So raise your hand and tell me, starting with the constants, which one do we want to get rid of? Do we want to get rid of the -4 or the -5? Rated. Okay, so I'm going to add 4 here. Let's make this really easy. We're going to get rid of the -5 here. So that cancels. So then I'm going to do plus 5, which gives me 1. Then I bring everything down. And then what do? So I've got all my constants now on one side, right? So what do I want to do next?
You do the same thing but for 1.
No, because the 1's already there. I don't have any more constants left, right? The only number by itself is right here. So I'm done with that. So at the moment, I don't want you guys to look at that one.
Wait.
So now you have 3x equals 7x. So if I have my constant here, I have to move this one, right, to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 3x. That cancels, minus 3x. And then I bring everything down. And essentially, I'm left with this. How do I get rid of that 4? How do I get rid of the 4, Ben?
Divide 1 by 4.
No. Divide 4 by 4, and then that. So x is going to equal 1/4, right? You just solved an inequality and you didn't even know it. So it is the exact same thing as solving equations. The only difference is what? It's an inequality symbol. Now, yes, there are a few tricks and whatnot to it, but honestly, guys, that's it. So it's exactly what we've been doing, just with a different, not an equal sign. That's all. But when we see this, we lose all sense, just like when we see fractions and just like when we see decimals, we forget everything that we've ever learned in our entire life, and we start counting backwards. Like, that's legit what happened yesterday with the activity. So I want you guys to keep this in mind. You just solved this. You can do anything. Keep that in mind. You can do it. Don't like. All right. Then you're going to solve the inequality. This last one is where it does get a little bit tricky because you do have to look at it and say, am I dividing or multiplying by a negative number. If you are, that is when you flip your inequality. All right, thumbs up when you have this written down. Cam, do you have something for me today? Did you forget? Jeffrey, did you forget too?
Yeah, you forgot.
I did not forget. I did not forget.
Both y'all. You didn't forget?
I definitely forgot. I forgot.
You have it or no?
No. I will
Okay.
get it for you. I will
It's
get it,
okay.
Miss Kenny. I want this every credit.
All right. So we're going to go back through and highlight some important stuff. So distributing and combining like terms, those are important. You have to do that. This part where it says collect the variables on one side and the constants on the other, what this means is you're going to put a number on one side of the inequality and your letter on the other side. So all, that is really weird looking, sorry. So all of your numbers by themselves on one side. Then, I totally wrote that backwards when I didn't talk about that. Then all the variables on the other side. So that's what that means. Obviously solving, and then this is going to be the part that we really struggle with. And not because it's hard, but because we have to remember to do it. All right, we're gonna go through some of these and do some of these together. You guys are gonna do some of these with your partner, and then you're gonna do some of these on your own. All right, so the first one, it says, we're gonna practice solving inequalities in the table below. What we're gonna do, and this is gonna be hard if you are super sloppy or you don't write very small, because we're gonna put our steps in parentheses. So looking at this one, the first step is what? Or what could be a first step? What could be a first step?
To add 9 variables.
Okay, so in parentheses right here for step 1, we're going to put plus 9. Because that's the first thing we're doing. So when we plus 9, we get rid of that negative 9. What's the problem, y'all? Are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're adding 9 to this side. So then we end up with 21x is greater than or equal to 18x plus, well, what is 12 plus 9? 21. Oops, plus 21. So now do we have our variable to one side? This thing is going to drive me crazy today.
What's the yes back in, so?
Maybe you can try writing it on the board. So we can see
I'm
it.
not writing all this on the board. Are you insane?
Yes.
Y'all have lost all senses. I love y'all, but not that much. Okay, so do we have our variable on one side of our inequality?
No.
Yes, we do, because we just got rid of the 9 here, right? by adding it. So now our problem is 21x is greater than or equal to 18 plus 21. So, I'm sorry, you're right, I apologize. Babe. We don't have it all on one side, so we have our variable here and a variable here. Do we have our constant by itself on one side?
Yes.
Yes, 21 is all by itself. So what do we have to do now? We don't have any other choice. What do we have to do?
Subtract constant.
No, not subtract. We're not moving 21 back and forth, y'all.
Oh.
So again, 21, there's nothing else we can do with it, right? So we're moving constants to one side, variables to the other. 21 is good. We have 21x on one side and 18x on the other. We don't want to move 21 back over here. We're just going to keep going back and forth, right? We want to get this 18 to this side. What do we have to do with that? What do we have to do? Cam?
Would you have to add 21?
No.
No.
All right. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. So right now, we have 21x is greater than or equal to 18x plus 21. Everybody cover up 21. On your paper, cover up 21. We are not doing anything with 21. Why? Say it.
Because we already moved it. We don't choose to go back.
We've already moved it. We've already collected all of our constants on this side. So now, if constants are going to be this side, what do I have to do? This is my only option. What do I have to do with that 18x? Audrey.
Cancel it out.
Right.
Subtract.
Right. So I have to because constants are here, variables are going to be here. Yeah?
Where'd the 12? What'd you do with the 12? Like,
We added. So again, step number 1 was plus 9.
why?
All right,
Oh,
everyone.
oh, oh.
No, you're good. So everybody, in your notebook, put this paper to the side. So number 1 is 21x minus 9, which is greater than or equal to 18x plus 12. Okay? We said our first step was to what? Not subtract. Add 9. So I'm going to add 9 here, and I'm going to cancel this. Then I'm going to add 9 here. 12 plus 9 gives me what? 21. So I'm going to bring everything else down. Okay? So technically, my constant, I'm done. I've got my constant all by itself, right? Now, I got to get my variable by itself. How do I get both variables on the same side? That is not on the same side as the constant.
You subtract
Right, so I'm going to subtract what?
18 by 21.
So I'm going to do 18 over here, which cancels this. Then I'm going to do 18 over here. 21 minus 18, 3. So I have 3x is less than or equal to 21. So variables are on one side, constants are on one side. At this point, I'm just solving for x now, right?
So now you just divide.
Yep, now I just divide by 3. Divide by 3. X is greater than or equal to 7. And I'm done. Okay? Makes sense. When I do problems, especially like multi-step problems where you have variables on both sides of the equal sign, inequality sign, I always try to keep my numbers to where they're going to be positive. Sometimes you can't. So like subtracting or adding 9 here is a smart move because it keeps this positive. Subtracting 18 here is a smart move because it keeps this side positive. That's not always going to work. Sometimes we are going to have to deal with negative numbers. But do the best to your ability to try and keep them positive. Okay? So let's look at the second one. We're not even going to worry about putting it on here. So the second one, so number 2, It's negative 5x plus 14 is greater than negative 9x plus 2. All right, so step number 1 on our note sheet, it says distribute and or combine like terms if we have to. Do we have anything to distribute? Do we see any parentheses? No. Do we have anything to combine? No. Because technically looking at this side, do I have two numbers with variables? Do I have two constants? Okay, looking at this side, do I have two numbers with variables? Do I have two constants? So I'm good. Step 1, we're done. Step number 2, it says collect the variables on one side of the inequality sign. So we have negative 5 and we have negative 9. What would be the best move? What do you think? To try to keep these numbers positive.
Start with 14.
No, we're working with variables right now. Start with variables.
Oh.
So I have a negative 5x and I have a negative 9x. Audrey?
You're gonna wanna add 9 to the variables.
Yes, I'm going to add 9 here. That cancels. Why is adding 9 a good move? Jasmine?
Because of the rules of the negative and positives, the taking the sum of the bigger number.
Right. So ultimately this is going to become a positive what?
4.
Yes. So this becomes 4x, and then I'm going to bring everything else down. And my variables are done, because my variable is all on one side. Now, unfortunately, doing that is going to make us have to work with a negative constant, right? We don't have an option. We have to get rid of 14. So I'm going to subtract 14 here and subtract 14 there. What do I get when I do 2 plus negative 14? Negative 12. So again, I bring everything down and I have negative 12. So I've collected my constants and I've collected my variables. I'm good. And then from here, how do we solve this problem? Raise your hand. How do we solve this problem? Brielle. By?
4.
Yep. So I divide by 4 on both sides. X is going to be greater than negative 3. Does that make more sense doing it in the notebook? Okay, and I apologize. If you guys are ever like, Miss Kenny, this is not making sense, we have an entire notebook to use. Okay?
So, for number 1, we did the 9 instead of the variable.
Choice. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can do whichever one you want.
Oh.
Again, I always look at, when I'm doing problems like this, I always look to see what is going to be the easiest. So if I subtract, or if I add 9 here, I know that's going to make it a positive, which means I have to do subtraction here, which makes this a positive. So I can look at this, and I'm huge, like I'm a big numbers person. Don't ask me to spell anything. Don't ask me any nouns, whatever. Ask me to look at a problem, and I'm like that. Some people are like that. Some people are not. So it's really, it's whatever process you want. If you want to do constants first, always do that. If you want to do variables first, always do that. It's really your choice. Okay? All right, let's do this last one. Number 3. All right, number 3 is 25 minus 7x, which is greater than or equal to, less than or equal to 3x plus 50. All right, what is, raise your hand, step number 1. What is step number 1 on your paper? What does it tell you to do? Jeffrey. Steps to solve, what is step number 1?
Subtract, not add 25.
Nope, you skipped a step. Step number 1.
Add, subtract.
Nope. What does step number 1 say? Steps to solve. Distribute or, or. Right, do we have any? on the same side? No. All right. So again, you always have to check to make sure you can either distribute or combine those like terms. Now, Jeffrey, what's the next thing you want to do? What do you want to do? You don't know? Do you want to work with constants or you want to work with variables? Okay. So we have negative 7x and we have 3x. Which one do you want to move? Okay. And to get rid of that negative 7, what are we going to do? Perfect. Okay, so that cancels. That slides over. So now I have 25 is less than or equal to 10x plus 50. All right. Variables are done, right? So now I got to do the constants. What do I have to do? I don't have a choice in this one. What do I have to move? Callie. All right, so I'm going to subtract 50, cancel that out, subtract 50 over here. So 25 minus 50 gives me what? Raise your hand.
25.
Raise your hand. Kira.
Negative 25.
Negative 25. Bringing everything down. And then I'm left with negative 25 is less than or equal to 10x. All right, what do we do?
Divide.
We're going to divide. Divide by 10. Divide by 10. That cancels. Now, what did it say about... Never mind. Just kidding. Just kidding. When you divide negative 25 divided by 10, what do you get? Careful with this one. Negative 2.5. All right, questions about those first three? All right, either slide over on your paper if you have room. If you do not have room, just slide over to the next page in your notebook. Does not matter to me. You guys are going to work with your partner or your table mates, and you're going to solve this problem. Before you get started on it, though, we are going to briefly talk about it so your heads do not spin off your shoulders. All right, what do you notice right away that is different from the last three that we did? Looking at this problem compared to the last three, what do you notice, Brayden? There's parentheses. So, what did I make sure that Jeffrey did? He read step number 1. What? Yes, you have to distribute here. So that is your very first step. So we're going to do this step together, and then you're going to finish it up with your table friends. All right, this becomes 2 times negative 3. What is 2 times negative 3? Raise your hand. Ellie? So negative 6x plus, what's 2 times 1? 2 is less than negative 5x plus 14. All right, go ahead, work with the people at your table or your shoulder partner, and then stand up when you're done. I got it. I'm gonna work with Jeffrey today. I know, jeez. All right, so what do we do? Okay, so really, baby, it doesn't matter. But maybe to help you, always start with there. Since that's first in your notes. So put a B right here. And then that means you're gonna do variables. So you're either gonna add 6 and add 6, or you're gonna add 5 and add 5. Whichever one you wanna do.
Huh?
The one she put up on there.
Now with the -1, what is it?
Is less than, negative. Look,
So we're dividing by a negative, right?
look, yes, she distributed
Right.
2 times negative 3x, which got 6x. She did the other side. So negative 6x plus 2. So you have
I'm working with
so after you get negative 6 plus 2 less than is less than negative 5x plus 1. I did yeah, I did
Remember, when you're
minus
done,
2.
stand up. Miss Penny left. You have partners to work with.
Okay, and so now, I did what? I did that, so you should have 12 on this side, and the other one of those cancels out. Okay? Minus 2, which could have gotten 12, and then that should.
I'm glad that that is the most important thing to you right now.
Rewrite that, that's so messy, but you can't even return that. I think
All right, let's go ahead and go over this. So there are 2 ways to solve this problem. Just make sure that if you didn't do it one way, or you didn't do it the way that's displayed up here, that we end up with the same answer. Because I'm not going to show both ways, I'm only going to show one. So let's go ahead and start with the variables on this one. I'm going to add 5x here, and I'm going to cancel that out. I'm going to add 5x here. This becomes negative 1x plus 2 is less than, sorry, that should just be a 14. Okay? My variables are done. Then I'm going to look for the constants. So I'm going to subtract 2 here, subtract 2 here. Bring everything down. I have negative x is less than 12. Bless you.
Thank you.
Thumbs up if your last step before solving this problem has either a negative 1x is less than 12 or an x is greater than negative 12. So you should have one of 2. You should have that or you should have this. I think.
What is the answer?
Sorry. Should be this way. So you should have either that up there or that up there. We're not done yet.
From that?
We're not done yet. Hold on.
I got confused when it came to
Okay. Again, how many of you guys have this as your answer?
what?
Okay? You're done. Right? Because there's nothing else for you to do. How many of you guys have that as your step before the last step? Okay, we're going to keep going because we are not done. Why are we not done?
Because there's a number.
No, there's not a number. There's a... We still have to divide because we have a negative 1. So you're going to divide by negative 1. That cancels. If you look back in your notes, this little special thing, when you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip your sign. So this becomes divided by that. So x is greater than negative 12. Now, do we all have the same answer? So again, depending on which way you went, you maybe had to do one more step here, or you got your answer directly there. Either way, it's right. There's just 2 different ways to solve it, depending on if you start with your constants or you start with your variables. All right, questions about that one? All right, let's do number 3. All right, so number 3 is negative 4 times 3 plus 3x, which is greater than 6 times 4 minus x. Again, you're working with your partners. Solve it, stand up when you're done.
Okay, so we're going to distribute. Greater than 4 minus
Huh? Hold on, I-
6 times
It sounds so easy.
now we're going to get rid of. Oh, there's 2. 6. Huh?
Oh, shoot.
If this equals to 1, this is equal to 1, yeah, it's equal to negative.
So then you're essentially multiplying 6 times negative 1.
Yeah, do I still put the exponent?
Because the x is essentially what you're multiplying.
Alright, so we're gonna get rid of, and we're gonna get rid of 6. We're gonna add 12.
Negative 6.
Oh, we're gonna add 12 here. Cross this out. So now we're
Huh? What? No. I just alright. We're at negative 12.
I'll do it.
Did you divide by a negative?
Gonna make this 6. I got this.
Dude, all this math
X
is
is
really making my
X is
brain
greater than
hurt.
6.
I need better explanation. I'm just gonna teach you something. It just makes no sense. So what do I do
I meant X is greater than 6.
Negative x is greater than or less than negative 6, which is less than x. So you're adding and subtracting. It should be negative 6.
Brandon, I got my answer. I did not. Brandon. What'd you get?
No, but if something's a negative or a positive,
I got X.
Huh?
I got X is greater than 6.
All right, let's go ahead and go over this. Have a seat. So I'm going to distribute in negative 4 I'll wait. Negative 4 times 3 gives me what? You just called out. Negative 12. Negative 4 times negative 3x gives me what?
Negative 12x.
And then I'm going to distribute in my 6. 6 times 4. 6 times negative x. All right, so at this point, I'm done with the distributing, and I'm going to start. Raise your hand. Do you want me to start with my constants or my variables?
Variables.
Okay. So I'm going to take and I'm going to add 12x here. That cancels. I'm going to add 12x here. Just kidding. I added the wrong 12. Whoops. See how easy it's going to be? Look at that. All right, anyways. So I take 12 away. I add 12 and then I add 12. So I end up with negative 12x is greater than 36 minus 6x. All right, now what do I do from here? Are my variables all on one side?
No.
I totally did the wrong one. Lord have mercy. Brayden, you said constant first, right?
I don't remember.
It's okay. We're going to go with constant because I messed up.
Okay.
So now I got to get my variables on that side. Am I going to subtract by 6x or am I going to, am I going to add by 6x or am I going to add by 12x? Why are you confused?
6x.
Just because it's not the same as yours, if you got an answer, you should still be able to walk me through, even if it's not the same as your paper.
6x.
Okay, I have to, right? So that cancels. And then I do 12 minus 6, or negative 12 plus 6 gives me what? Negative 6x is greater than 36. So constants are done, variables are done. Now I'm at my last step. What do I have to do here? What do I have to do? Brayden? Not 6. Negative 6. So I'm about to divide by a negative 6. What do I have to do with my inequality symbol? If I'm about to divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, Nevaeh, what do I have to do? Flip it. That cancels. Divide by negative 6. X is less than, what's 36 divided by 6? Huh? No. I'm dividing by a negative, which means I flip my inequality.
Wait.
The last step in the directions. Guys, this sheet, just because we're down here doesn't mean the entire top just went away and dissolved into thin air. I promise you, you gotta look at the steps. So, if you read that last thing that we highlighted, it says if you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip your inequality. Okay, you have to. And that's what I said was going to be the hardest. So what is 36 divided by 6? 6, and then I just throw my negative on there. So your answer should be x is less than negative 6. If the only thing that you did was not flip your x or flip your inequality, you're doing all right.
I forgot to add my negative.
Yes. That is way past me at this point. You should have learned that in 6th and 7th grade. At this moment in time, I don't have time to stop and teach just you how to distribute. I'm going to be honest with you. Distributing is multiplying this number on the outside to the inside. I mean, I will try to find some time before the benchmark day, but at this point, we got to keep it moving. All right. You are going to do number 4, number 5, and number 6. In your notebook. Do not do it in this piece or on this piece of paper. Do it in your notebook. You're working independently. What? Right. Guys, listen. Stop for a second. You've got, everyone put your pencils down. Everybody listen. Have this sheet of paper. Fold it in half this way. Because technically, the majority of us are on this side now, right? Or close to it. I want you going through step number 1. Okay, do I have to distribute or combine like terms? Check it off. I'm good. Step number 2, do my variables. Step number 3, do my constants. Step number 4, solve for an inequality. And then always check this last step. This paper needs to be right next to you. Because again, if you're doing everything except for flipping your inequality, you're doing all right. But you got to know, you always have to look. If you're dividing by a negative, if you're multiplying by a negative, your inequality flips. Okay? Go ahead. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Never mind. 86, doing number 6, do number 7. But don't worry about, hold on, because I don't want y'all to even, I don't want your heads to completely explode today. So we're not doing number 6. Cross that off. Because there's a fraction there. Y'all are already going to lose your minds because I threw some decimals in here. And then I just want you to simply solve this. Don't worry about doing the box or reading the problem. Just solve that problem. Okay? So you're doing 4, 5, and 7. I apologize, that's my fault. Whoever is whistling or whatever, stop.
So I put the decimal over here.
I mean, technically, did you move the decimal on outside over to the right one?
So here.
No, on the outside. Decimal outside goes over one. Okay, so then the decimal on this side goes over one, so it goes up.
This way.
Are you sure that your answer 55.2 is 29.7 is 30.5?
Pretty sure.
Did you borrow the glasses? Alright, I'm going to lose my mind. If you want to continue to be a jerk, because that's exactly what you're doing, I will give everybody in this classroom silent lunch. And I will go sit down there because I go to lunch at the same time you guys do. So I'm not going to ask again. If you are making the noise, stop. It is absolutely rude and disrespectful to your classmates. If you don't want to do the work, get out of my room. Sorry. Carl will correct me. And then that's going to change our answer.
Okay. Oh, wait. I thought it was 4.
That'll change your answer though, which will make it make more sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so now you're gonna subtract. So you're gonna add 75 here, subtract. Yeah, because that's how you do it. Okay. Okay. All right, let's go over number 4 because we've been working at this for about 6 minutes and the majority of us are still on number 4. All right, let's go through this. Pencils are down. Do we have to distribute for number 4? And how do we know we don't distribute? No parentheses. Do we combine like terms? Are there like terms on either, like on, is there anything that's the same on this side? Anything that's the same on this side? All right. I'm going to start with my variables, see if I can keep it straight this time. So I'm going to subtract from this side, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I end up with 25.5x. I'm going to bring down my minus 75, which is greater than 52.5. Are my variables done? Okay, now I'm going to add 75 to both sides. Is that 2? Did I add that right? 2. Did you guys get 127.5?
Yes.
Just making sure, because I don't trust my math anymore. All right, so at this point, have I done everything right? Now, what do I do from here? So I got my constants on one side, I got my variables on one side. What's my last step to solve this problem? Why does only 1.5 people know?
I skipped number 4. I skipped 5.
But this is the easiest problem up here. So why did we struggle so much with this one? Like before we finish this, why did we struggle?
I didn't struggle.
But there's not a lot. You're just adding and subtracting decimals at this
This
point.
is the dividing.
The dividing isn't even that bad.
But I got my answer.
Do you know if it's right?
I think it's
All right, so we are going to divide 25.5. Divide this by 25.5. And x is going to be greater than, I'm going to look at my work and make sure I give you the right answer. 5.
you got it.
Okay? How do we do? but you can't do all the hard work and then get lost on the easy part. Like, that's what's mind blowing to me. Y'all know how to do the hard work, and then you overthink it. Yes, that's exactly what y'all are doing. You're overthinking it. How long did it take us to do this problem together? 2 minutes, maybe? And that was with me talking. It should not have taken you guys longer than 6 minutes to do all 3 of these. This is nothing new. All right, go on to the next one. Now, looking at the next one, what do you have to do before you start? Nevaeh. And is that a +3 or a -3? It is a -3. Carry that -3 through your distribution. Stand up when you have this first line done. Don't be erasing anything.
I'm still going to not do the first one even when you show us.
Honestly, because you try to do your subtraction in your head, that's where you made your mistake. Like, had you actually subtracted out like you did, you'd have been fine. I promise. So again, you're standing up when you're done with just this first line. This, again, should not take us this long. You only have to do one thing, and then you're standing up. Remember, we like to do 84 things in one step? We're taking it step by step today, just like yesterday. All right, I'm going to bring my 22 down. Now, I'm distributing my -3. So -3 times 3 is going to give me what? Raise your hand. -3 times 3. Jeffrey? 9x, but -9x. Then, -3 times 1 is going to give me what? -3. And then from here, find your variables, find your constants, stop there when you're done. Okay, so combine constants, stop. Make sure they're right. Combined variables, stop, make sure they're right, and then stand up. I do not have one. You can take the nurse's pass and go. Yeah, I don't have one. There's not a nurse's pass in there. Should be. Yeah, it might have got left in the nurse's office. If you see one like that, will you bring it back? We're not solving this all the way through. We're just getting constants on one side, variables on the other, and then you're standing up. All right, have a seat. I have a question. Before you can do your constants and variables, do you have to do something else? Ariana? Yes. So technically, this term and this term are what? they're like terms. So you're ultimately combining those two first. So you end up with 19 minus 9x is greater than or equal to negative x plus 45. How many of you guys did not see that? So you sat there and you stared at your paper for about the whole time. Remember, guys, you gotta do both. I showed you the distributive property, but you still gotta use this thing. The thing that's connected to your neck, called your brain, your head, gotta use it. All right, so are we starting with constants or are we starting with variables? What do you guys wanna do? Variables? Okay. Do we wanna take and add 9 here or add 1? Add 9? So then I have 19 is greater than or equal to 8x plus 45. Variables are done. All right, what about my constants? What do I have to do? I don't have a choice. Subtract 45. Now, what is 45 minus 19? It's 45 minus 19. 20. Are you sure?
I don't know. I missed a question. I think so.
Just because I question you doesn't mean you're wrong. I'm just making sure you know. All right, so you end up with, and I'm going to rewrite this over here just so I can see it a little bit better. You end up with negative 26 is greater than or equal to 8x. What do we have to do here? What do we have to do here?
Layla, Celeste, please report to room 214.
So at this point, I just want you to do 26 divided by 8. We already know our answer is going to be a negative, right? Okay, so go through and we're going to solve. Well, what can I multiply 8 by to get close to 26? Ellie? 3. What do I multiply 8 by to get close to 20? 2. What do I multiply 8 by to get close to 40, or to get to 40? 5. So my answer is going to be a negative 3 25/100ths. Now what do I do with my inequality symbol? Does it stay the same or does it flip? You got to flip it. So that is your answer for number 5. What do you guys think?
It's easy to mess up.
It's very easy to mess up.
Like, if you mess up at the beginning, like, the rest of the problem is hard.
Right. And that's why equations and inequalities or anything like this is so hard, because if you mess up in one place, the whole thing is wrong. Okay? The last one. Do you want to try it on your own? Absolutely, Miss Kinney, we would love to. Yes, you're going to try. Try it on your own. I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes, and then we'll go over there. But you got to try.
Second one, number 6.
Number 7.
Oh.
It's right here. Number 7, guys. And you're not solving the word problem. You're just solving this problem that's up here. Nobody should be talking. Alright, let's go over this before I bring these wonderful children in this classroom. Alright, let's focus. So, what are we doing first? Are we doing constants or variables? What do you guys want to do? Variables? Want to do variables first? Alright, are we taking, and are we going to add 5? Or are we going to add 8? Add 5? You guys said variables first, right? So I'm going to bring everything down. Okay, I have my variable all on one side. Now I have no choice. That is my next step. All right, thumbs up if that's where you got before your last step. 6 is greater than negative 3x. All right, now, to get rid of this negative 3x, what do we have to do, Richard? What's the opposite of multiplication? So I have to divide by negative 3. Divide by negative 3. What do I have to do? Raise your hand with my inequality symbol here. Because I'm dividing by a negative. What do I have to do, Jasmine? Yes. So this becomes negative 2 is less than x. All right, before I let them in, because I still have 2 minutes before I have to actually deal with them. So this piece of paper that I pass out to you, you'll notice these are much easier than what we just did, right? They're only what? One step. So y'all just tackled like 84 steps. You can definitely do this one. All you're doing, I know it says graph. If you want to go out on the limb and try to graph this, by all means. Listen, guys. You're solving this in this space. So please write it big enough that I can see it. You're going to add a little bit of color to this. Like I said, if you want to try to graph it, and you remember from 6th and 7th grade, by all means try. If not, we'll get to the graphing part tomorrow. All right, this is what you're working on. You're gonna cut it out. You're gonna put your name on the back of it. If you don't have scissors, there's a drawer labeled scissors back there. You are turning this into me when you are done with it. Also, Delta Math starts next week for you guys.
Amen.
Yeah, well, I know y'all did not just say, oh.
I just get close to the answer.
All right, I could have started it this week, but I didn't. So Delta Math is going to start next week for you guys. You are working on anything you haven't done this week, which the majority of you guys, I think, have your work done. If you did not do your homework or you owe me homework, I do need to see it once you guys, I get them inside. You're working on this, add color to it, cut it out. First and last name, date is on the back of it.
How do you color it?
With colors.
But like, what do you color?
What do you color? The whole thing. Because I want color on it. Because I'm a teacher and I want it to be pretty.
I color it pretty.
Well, make it look pretty. Brayden, so use your thumb and the stop button on my recorder, please. You have to add color.